Okay, so we're going to talk about a name you definitely know, Kawasaki. But I'm willing to bet the story behind that name is something you've never heard. We're talking about a 140-year transformation that is, well, it's pretty wild. Let's dive in. All right, be honest. When you hear the name Kawasaki, what pops into your head? For pretty much everyone, right? It's this, a super sleek, powerful motorcycle, a symbol of speed, performance, the open road. But what if I told you that's just like the tip of the iceberg? Not even the tip. Because, get this, Kawasaki is also a massive global leader in industrial robotics. Yeah, the very same company famous for those bikes, they're an absolute giant in factory automation. They build the incredibly complex robots that, build our world. Kind of surprising, right? And that's exactly the point. The Kawasaki you think you know, it's so much bigger. So that brings us to the real scale of this whole thing. We're about to pull back the curtain on what's actually called Kawasaki Heavy Industries, or KHI for short, and you're going to see just how huge this operation truly is. Okay, to put this in perspective, let's just start with a number. A big one. In fiscal year 2022, KHI pulled in over $11 billion in revenue. Yeah. This is not just some motorcycle company. This is a full-blown global industrial powerhouse. So the question is, where is all that cash coming from?
Well, it comes from three main areas. First, you've got land, sea, and air transportation systems. So yeah, think pretty much everything from trains to giant ships. Then there's energy and environmental engineering. That's all about power generation, sustainability, that kind of stuff. And finally, you have industrial equipment. And yep, that's where those robots we mentioned fit in. It's this structure that lets them play in fields that seem totally disconnected. Okay, so let's do a quick run-through. For example, they make bullet trains. Yeah, KHI is a huge player in the high-speed rail that's so iconic in Japan and other parts of the world.
Then they also build super critical parts for aircraft engines. The things that power the planes we all fly on. We're talking about mind-bogglingly precise engineering here.
And what about at sea? Well, they build these enormous LNG tankers. These are the gigantic ships that carry liquefied natural gas across the entire planet, literally fueling whole countries.
And then, just to top it all off, they make these things. These are massive tunnel boring machines that carve out subways and roads right through mountains and under cities. I mean, from motorcycles to tunnel borers, the range is just incredible. So that just begs the question, right? How on earth does one single company end up making everything from ships to robots? It seems impossible. To get it, we really have to go back and look at how they transformed over time. So the whole story starts way back in the late 1800s. They began as a simple shipbuilding dockyard. That was their foundation. And from there, they just leveraged that knowledge of heavy industry. Throughout the 20th century, they expanded into other kinds of transportation. Then came the big one, the real game changer. They were pioneers in industrial robotics. And that's what really set them on the path to becoming the global tech leader they are today. You can see how each step just logically builds on the one before it.
And this quote, this really nails their secret sauce. It's not like they're just jumping into a new industry and starting from zero. No way. It's all about taking what they're amazing at, their deep engineering skills, and just pointing that expertise at a new problem. That is the key. That's how they keep reinventing themselves.
Okay, so that's the past, but how does that history shape what they're doing now? KHI is definitely not a company that's just resting on its laurels. They're taking that exact same playbook and aiming it at the biggest challenges we face today.
And if you look at their own business vision, their mission is crystal clear. They are focused on solving major social issues and helping the environment. And this isn't just, some corporate PR fluff for a little side project. It's their stated purpose, and it's guiding where they're putting their money into some seriously ambitious stuff. And this right here is a perfect example of what they mean. They are literally trying to build an entire CO2-free hydrogen supply chain. We're talking the whole shebang, from making the clean hydrogen in the first place, to designing special ships and trucks to move it around, all the way to building the turbines that will actually use it to make electricity. It's a total end-to-end solution.
They're also jumping headfirst into renewable energy by tapping into the power of the ocean itself. This tidal power system is so cool because it goes right back to their shipbuilding roots. They're just using that maritime engineering skill to capture the massive and super reliable energy from the tides.
And now for maybe the most surprising pivot of all. They're getting into advanced medicine. Seriously, this is an automated system for culturing cells. The whole point is to speed up regenerative medicine by making it possible to produce huge amounts of high-quality cells. I mean, from heavy industry to biotech, that is just an unbelievable jump.
So you have to ask, what is it that lets one company do all of this? What's the common thread here? What's the Kawasaki way that pulls it all together?
Well, at the very heart of it is this core Japanese philosophy called monozukuri. Now, this word means so much more than just manufacturing. It's really about a spirit of craftsmanship, this constant drive to innovate, and just an incredible pride in doing excellent work. You could say it's the cultural DNA that runs through literally everything Kawasaki makes.
And that philosophy shows up in three key ways. First, a serious focus on R&D. They're always investing in what's next. Second, smart partnerships. They know they can't solve these huge problems all by themselves. And maybe the most important part, developing a highly skilled workforce. They're all about nurturing that deep engineering talent, not just for years, but for generations. So all of this leaves us with one last really fascinating question. For a company that's already gone from ships to bullet trains to robots and is now taking on clean energy and medicine, what could possibly be next? For a 140-year-old company that just never ever stops changing, the only thing we know for sure is that another transformation is coming.